Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Merel and as you might have seen today we're going to take a look at some footage from last week's trial. So I'm not going to go over the entire background of this. There's a million other videos on YouTube. Maybe there's actually literally a million other videos, but there's a lot of videos on YouTube that do a far better job than I could ever do at explaining and recapping and summarizing the whole trial, what it's been up till now. So instead, I'm just gonna assume that you're knowledgeable on the subject, and I'm gonna assume that you followed it at least partway up to here, or that you don't mind if there's a few things you're not entirely gonna get. That's fine. That's totally not a problem. I hope you'll still enjoy it nonetheless. So while I do have the ambition to actually go through the entire trial with commentary, that is kind of a tall order. And when I thought about it, I thought, I really do want to start with Amber Heard's cross-examination by Camille Vasquez, because that was spicy. That was it was great. It was absolutely fantastic. It was better entertainment than a lot of TV, and the better thing even is that this is real. This has real consequences, which makes it all the more impactful in a way. But enough of that. I am gonna make a series of videos with commentary on the trial, but right now I'm gonna start with Amber Heard's cross-examination. I'm gonna jump through the footage here and there, and I don't mean in this video, I mean in the consecutive videos, that maybe I'll make another one on cross, and maybe I'll make another one on maybe Johnny Depp's direct examination or cross-examination later. I don't know. I really can't see that far into the future. So without further ado, let's get started on the actual video. I do want to warn you beforehand that obviously, due to the nature of the case, there's going to be descriptions of domestic violence and of sexual abuse. There's going to be some swear words here and there, not only from the court, but also possibly from me. I'll try to keep it to a decent level, but as you can probably see from my environment, it's kind of late at night, and that means that my brain has stopped braining and that things might get a little spicy, specifically because of this cross-examination. So please be advised that some of the content may be triggering for you. I do advise you maybe to watch it with a friend if you really need to. You can also always reach out to me. I don't know currently if there's any of my contact info anywhere down there, but I do really want to help. If anyone wants to reach out and just talk, and I'll just listen. And honestly, my door is open for any one of you, and I honestly, truly mean that. So that was the content warning and my offer to anyone who wants to talk. Obviously, you can also talk down in the comment section, but if you want something more private, you know where to find me. So let's get started. I do like her hair. I have to admit that. Her hair looks fantastic.
All right, be seated. Cross-examination.
I should have captions on, right? Oh, only the...
Good afternoon, Ms. Heard.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Depp hasn't looked at you once this entire trial, has he?
Not that I've noticed, no.
You've looked at him, though, many times, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You know exactly why Mr. Depp won't look back at you, don't you?
I do.
He promised you you would never see his eyes again. Isn't that true?
I don't recall if he said that.
One of the last times you ever saw Mr. Depp was when you met him in San Francisco in July of 2016, right?
That was the second to last time I saw him, yes.
And this was after you had publicly accused him of domestic violence.
And
I got
after
my
she
restraining
got...
order before that, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is after you had obtained the domestic violence restraining order against him.
That's correct.
Let's please play Plaintiff's Exhibit 1229. For the record, it's at 1101 through 1209.
I got a lot of these recordings, by the way.
I'm going to ask that it be admitted into evidence.
Any objection to 1229?
It's rare for a case to have such good audio evidence, so
All right, 1229.
it
You want it
really
entered in its
tells you a lot
entirety?
more
Yes, please.
than
Okay.
people just
1229 entered in its entirety.
testifying, you know?
Play your section.
I don't understand. Is this what you want?
No. Oh, no, a hug will save it all. Everything we just
I
been
just wanted to touch you.
through. Really? After all this shit you just said?
I just wanted to give
After
you a
all this
hug.
shit you fucking
yes,
accused me of, you
yes,
want to
please,
touch me?
please stop me.
Fucking
Please stop.
You're fucking nuts.
Please, I just wanted to hug you to say bye. I wanted to
Yeah,
end that.
we did that last night. It's fine. That was
Please.
good enough.
No,
No, because I'm nothing to you. And I will always be nothing to you.
Calm. Calm.
What? You're not my shrink.
It hurts my heart. Please just calm my heart.
No. No, you're in fucking heart. No, we'll never see each other again. You won't even don't take my fucking glasses off. You don't like fucking looking at not my fucking eyes? You will not see my eyes again.
That's you and Mr. Depp in that recording.
That is.
And this is from when you and Mr. Depp met in San Francisco in July of 2016, right?
So she got the restraining order in May of 2016, which means that they are, at the point of this recording, in violation. And this is a meeting that was set up by Miss Heard herself. I'm going to use Miss Heard, Amber Heard, and Amber interchangeably. So she states that he took her to bed that time and that he was trying to get her back or something. She spun an entire narrative around this. But what I hear in this recording is, on the contrary, that she's the one desperate for his attention, that he's trying to get away. At one point he says, "Don't take my fucking glasses off," which I assume means that she was trying to take his glasses off, and that's when he said, "You'll never see my eyes again." To me, it clearly sounds like he went there hoping for good things, and she accused him of a lot of bad things, and then he tried to get away. And he was like, "No, don't touch me, not after all the shit you've accused me of and all the shit you just said." And she is sounding really desperate, which is honestly kind of odd for someone who claims to have been, well, for someone who actually went out to get a restraining order. And I'm not saying, I want to be very clear that a lot of the things, and I mean a lot of the things that Amber does throughout this trial, throughout their relationship, there's a lot of things that can absolutely happen to people who have been abused. For example, staying in an abusive relationship is not something entirely unheard of. It absolutely happens a lot. It happens a lot. Because if this is, in fact, if this is truly an abusive relationship, it doesn't even matter which one of the two was the abuser. They both still got married, so there are evidence of abusive relationships still lasting way longer than the actual abuse. So it does happen, and I want to make it very clear up front that whenever I appear to criticize something that Amber has done, or when I sound skeptical, it's just because in her case, there is a mountain of unlikely stuff that simply cannot be explained away altogether in one package. There's a couple of things that individually would have been totally understandable, totally fine in victims of domestic abuse. But if you put them all together, it becomes so wildly unlikely that for me, it just becomes really, really, really tough to reconcile with anything I know, anything I've learned, anything I've experienced. And right now we're still in the middle of her case in chief, but so far with all the evidence I've seen, and it's now May 21st, that means we only have 4 days of trial to go. I don't really think anything's gonna come in. I don't expect anything to come in and change my opinion. It could still happen, but I don't know why they would have waited with that evidence for so long. We don't know. Anyway, just want to make it clear that, for example, even when I'm talking about her not taking photos of specific events, it's perfectly possible for an abuse victim not to take photos of certain events for all kinds of reasons. But it happens too often in her case, and the photos she does show are photos that are unnecessary detail, like Johnny falling asleep or writing on a mirror without taking pictures of herself and her own wounds. And then the pictures she does show of any bruises are so light that you're like, really? I mean, you said you were bashed in the face repeatedly with a closed fist with heavy rings, and all you've got is a little bit of redness. I'm not skeptical towards abuse victims in general. It's just her. Let's be clear that I'm only being spicy towards her in this case. All right? I've been talking for long enough, so let's go on.
Yes, that's what it sounds like. That was in the hotel. We met once after that as well.
This is after you publicly accused him of domestic abuse.
Yes, and got my TRO.
Yeah. And he tells you you will not see my eyes again, doesn't he?
Yes, he does in that recording.
And he
He's
kept
still
that
looking
promise,
down.
hasn't he?
As far as I know, he cannot look at me.
He won't look at you, right, Miss Heard?
He can't.
She does this a lot, this kind of semantic wordplay of answering Camille Vasquez's question, but with a different wording. And maybe if you've already seen this or seen some clips, you might have heard about the whole donate pledge debacle, but if you haven't, it's gonna get wild. But Camille Vasquez asks, he won't look at you, and she says, that's right, he can't. And then Camille responds and says, no, he won't look at you. And she says again, no, he can't. And that's her trying to force in a narrative. And to me, because I've seen her do it a lot of times, it feels kind of sneaky, because she could have said out loud, like, no, it's not that he won't, it's that he can't. Instead of, he won't look at you, yes, he can't, or, you know. Anyway, let's go on.
One of the first questions your counsel asked you on direct is, why are you here? Do you remember that?
I do.
Let's please play Plaintiff Exhibit 357A, which is already in evidence, Your Honor. And for the record,
These
it's
auto-generated
21,
captions are
22 through 21,
pretty funny from
40.
time to time.
Right, and see what the jury and judge
yes.
think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence, and
Yes.
it's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
That's your voice on that recording, right?
All right, now something I don't want to do too often because it gets really confusing, but I want to go back for just a little bit and look at, see, there's a little mouth twitch, little smirk during that recording. And there's a lot of things that such a smirk can mean, but I want to look specifically at when in the recording that happens and see if maybe we can say something about why that smirk might be happening. Nothing in behavioral analysis is ever certain. We can only theorize. We can never say for sure. So let's go back. Here we go.
Right, and see what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence, and
Yes.
it's a fair fight. And see how many people.
All right, it looks to me like she does it right after she says, I'm a victim too of domestic violence. And there's a little bit of a nod in there. So it's kind of a little bit like a, and it depends on what the eyes do, but her eyes are looking down at this point, so it's kind of hard to see. But it could be either, yeah, but it could also be a sad one. So let's just look at it one more time. Let's see if I can see anything about her eyes.
2140.
Gotta look real close here.
Right, and see what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence, and
Yes.
it's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
There's a little bit of a sigh in there.
That's your voice on that recording, right?
Yes, it is.
And you were speaking with Mr.
Interesting.
Depp.
Yes.
And you said to Mr. Depp, quote, you can please tell people that it was a fair fight and see what the jury and the judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp, a man, a victim too of domestic violence, end quote. That's what you said, right?
I was saying it to the man who beat me up, yes. I thought it was preposterous.
Again, she's trying to push in her narrative, like I was saying it to the man who beat me up, like, please get this message into your brain. I do notice that I have a lot of trouble trying to stay even keeled in this. It's just a lot of pent-up frustration getting out there because I've dealt with gaslighters too. I've dealt with a lot of manipulative people. I've dealt with emotional abuse, psychological abuse, the works. And it's kind of vicariously nice to see this happening and to kind of have the same, you know, the same kind of expression that Camille has right now. It's nice. It's healing. And I really don't want this to turn into like blind hate on somebody. I don't want any misogyny, any sexism, any nastiness about her that isn't specific to the things she has done. I don't want to go out and call her a bitch or anything, but I can call out her actions. Yeah, what she's doing something manipulative, which is putting that narrative in again. And I think Camille is smirking here for the same reason I would be smirking, because now she gets to ask her about the man thing. Because her answer is, well, see for yourself.
And the man you beat up numerous times. Right, Ms. Heard?
I could never hurt Johnny.
You're here in this courtroom because Mr. Depp finally told the world that he is a victim of domestic violence.
I know that he is suing me and has sued.
It's not really an answer. She takes a lot longer to think about these replies than she does a lot of other stuff.
Other people or corporations that have said that as well.
You didn't think he would tell the world he was a victim of domestic violence, did you?
I found it hard to believe that he could or that he would do that, considering the relationship he and I had. I thought it would be crazy for him to do so, knowing what I know we lived through.
I think it would be really funny for a behavioral analyst to look at my expressions through this, because it's going to be a feast, I'm sure. This answer, there's so much going on here. This is also probably why I'm never going to get through the entire trial, because there's just so much to talk about. Yeah, when she asked the question, just look at how much she's caught off guard and how long it takes her to start answering the question.
Other people or corporations that have said that as well.
He's kind of...
You didn't think he would tell the world he was a victim of domestic violence, did you?
See, there's something going on there that she wants to answer, and then she's like, oh, well, actually, that question was a little different than I thought, so how am I gonna respond?
found it hard to believe that he...
I found it hard to believe. Like, yes, I found a line that I can go with. And I'm not saying that this is actually what she's thinking. I want to make it very clear that it's still just theories. Nothing is ever set in stone.
Could, or that he would do that, considering the relationship he and I had. I thought it...
Her facial expressions when she's saying that he could or that he would, it's strange.
He would do that, considering the relationship he and I had. I thought it would be crazy for him to do so, knowing what I know we lived through.
And she's frowning because she has a lot of hard thinking to do to get through this answer, but there's one moment where she slips back into what I call her jury mask, which is whenever she's looking at the jury and trying to garner sympathy. And I've heard from people who are in the courtroom that she's actually just scanning all of them all the time. That's whenever she looks to the side, she's scanning all of them, apparently trying to find a sympathetic face. And when that happens, her eyebrows go up. In her jury mask, her eyebrows go up. She kind of does this, you know. So let's do that again. Her jury mask. Then she starts speaking all solemnly, you know. Just look for it.
Do that, considering the relationship he and I had. I thought it would be crazy for him to do so, knowing what I know we lived through.
Or, as you said to him in that recording, who was going to believe that Johnny Depp, a man, is a victim of domestic violence, right?
With all due respect, I wasn't saying it because he's a man. I was saying it because he was a man who beat me up for 5 years.
All right, let's try to get into it. Try to imagine what it's like being in that position. Let's say that you are the abused victim, and let's say that you're saying this to your abuser, and you're afraid that he is going to, in her eyes, falsely accuse you of being the actual abuser. I think it's perfectly legit in that case to say, see if anyone believes you, because if you believe that the truth is on your side, I mean, I still think that she's really aggressive towards him for someone she's supposedly afraid of, but still possible. But I think it's perfectly valid in that case to, you know, be confident in your case. Be confident knowing, like, yeah, the facts are against you, so go see who believes you, because you don't have the truth on your side. That's perfectly valid. But then she adds a man. She specifically says, she doesn't say, I, Johnny Depp, am a victim too of domestic abuse. Maybe she was trying to get at that he is this big movie star and that he has more status and power and all those kinds of things, which in her experience apparently make it impossible to be an abuse victim, which is ludicrous, but that's a whole different story. But if you imagine that, I can imagine saying, I, Johnny Depp, am a victim too of domestic abuse. See who believes you. Arguably still possible, but a man, and then she says, I was saying that because he's the man who beat me up for 5 years. I'm having such a hard time thinking of any case where that could be the reason why she said it. I would have been fine with it if she said, I don't know why I said that. I would have even been fine with it if she made some kind of movement towards, well, he's the abuser and he's also a man, so no one's going to believe him anyway. I would have even been fine with that. I mean, not on the content level, but on the credibility level. But imagine that you're saying to someone, see who the jury believes, tell the world that I, Johnny Depp, a man, am a victim too of domestic violence. And that you say a man because he's the man who beat you up for 5 years. If that's what you want to convey in that moment, and that's what she says that is why she said it. I know I gesture a lot. It's an ADHD thing. I'm sorry. I hope it doesn't bother you. But she says, at the drop of a hat, without thinking about it, like, why did I say that like 6 years ago? She immediately says, I said that because he's the man who beat me up for 5 years. So she's quite confident that that's why she said it, which means that in her mind it would have to be logical, and it would have to have been logical back then. So wouldn't it have been more logical if that is what you want to convey, that you say, I, Johnny Depp, the man who beat me up for 5 years, am a victim too of domestic violence? That would have been more logical. Or I, Johnny Depp, someone who beat Amber Heard up for 5 years, am a victim too of domestic violence. That would have been more logical. I just don't see these two, just they don't connect. No, they don't. No.
Mr. Depp is your victim, isn't he?
Yes.
No, ma'am.
She comes from Texas, if I remember correctly. And if I remember correctly, in the South, saying no ma'am isn't just a polite no, but it's also kind of like a absolutely not. And feel free to correct me if I'm off base. If you haven't noticed, I'm not American, but this is what I've heard from Americans. But did you hear that angry, annoyed sigh, that exhale that she did before she gave that answer, and then saying no ma'am? And since she is from Texas, it's very likely that that's her contained anger. I get that if you're an actual victim and you've been accused of the abuse, I get that you're angry because you're falsely accused, right? I get that you're angry because people don't believe you. That's not at all what I'm reading in that little sigh right there. Let's go back. It's kind of like a contained anger sigh.
Isn't he?
No, ma'am.
And once he left you, you continued to abuse him publicly by calling him an abuser, didn't you?
He is an abuser, and we can look either of us up online and figure out who's being abused online.
Oh, girl, we did. Oh, we figured it out.
Let's look at some of that. Mr. Depp wears rings on every finger, doesn't he, Miss Heard?
That's my experience, yes.
And they're not delicate rings, are they?
No, they are not.
Every one of his fingers is adorned, your words, big, chunky rings. Isn't that right?
That's my experience of him.
And Mr. Depp is always wearing rings, right, Miss Heard?
That's my experience of him.
And you've never known.
After a lot of these answers, she does like a lip compression thing. Sometimes it's just an inward thing. Sometimes it's like a half smirk or a half, not really a smirk. Smirk's more like a smile, but half pulled back lips. And she's under a lot of tension, which is absolutely fine if you're under cross-examination. But it doesn't seem like she's only stressed because of the cross-examination. It doesn't seem like she's only stressed because she would be falsely accused. To me, this really, and I'm an empathic person, I can feel someone else's emotions quite readily. To me, this really feels like she is panicking because she's about to get caught. And in all honesty, that feeling is also perfectly possible when you know that the truth is on your side, but you also know that some of the facts make you look really bad. That even if you know there's a good explanation for it, and even if you know it's true, that you also know that most other people won't view it that way. I know those nerves. I've had those nerves a lot of times because I have ADHD and autism and chronic fatigue syndrome and chronic back pain at 28. So there's a lot of things that I have to explain to people to justify certain things. I won't get into it too much. And then I can get a little bit panicky and flustered as well because I'm like, shit, I want to tell them the truth and I hope they believe the truth. But that's not what I'm getting from her. I'm getting a, Oh dear, I hope they don't catch me. Oh shit, where's she going? Because I have to think of another answer, and it's different. And I do actually, honestly, absolutely want to urge you to think for yourself as well and not take my word for it at all. Please don't. Think for yourself as well. I'm only relaying my opinions. I'm going to say this way too often, I'm sure.
Known him not to wear these rings.
That's my experience, is he normally wore rings, yes.
So Mr. Depp was wearing these big, chunky rings on every finger. Every incident of abuse you've described to this jury, right?
I can't say for certain it was in every single incident.
But you've never known him not to wear rings, right?
In general, my experience with Johnny is that he wears rings almost all the time.
More stress in the lower lip?
Ms. Heard, do you recall giving testimony in a deposition in this matter in January of this year?
I do.
Can we please play from your deposition, day 2?
Now, I might be reading too much into this. I'm probably reading too much into this. But I saw something that I hadn't seen the first couple of times I've seen this. Is that when she says, let's play, that for a second, or less than a second, there's this look of what you got there. Like, oh shit, what's coming? Let's see if we can see that again.
Can we please play?
Saw that? It was really, really short. So I'm probably reading way too much into this, but...
From your deposition, day 2, 512, page 512, lines 11 through 15.
Cheers.
You said he hit you and he was wearing rings, right, Ms. Heard? So he hit you with rings on every finger?
I don't know if I've ever known Johnny to not wear rings.
Yeah.
Ms. Heard, you testified to an incident in March of 2013 where Mr. Depp hit you in the face multiple times. Do you recall that?
That's correct.
And you testified, quote, you don't know how many times he hit you in the face.
That's correct.
So Mr. Depp hit you in the face multiple times while he was wearing rings on this occasion, correct?
Which occasion in March are you referencing? You weren't
The
specific.
testimony that you gave on day 15 of this trial, March of 2013. You weren't specific as to the day.
There were several incidents.
The one where he hit you several times in the face.
There were I'm sorry, just so I understand better. There were several incidents in March. Which one are you asking me about?
The time that he hit you several times in the face wearing rings.
Well, he pretty
in
much
March
always...
of 2013.
Right. What are you asking me? I'm sorry.
He was wearing rings on that occasion?
It's not a terribly difficult question. She could easily have said, he could have, he might have, he might not have. Now, honestly, my personal expectation is that if you're punched with a closed fist with rings like Johnny Depp wears, you're gonna remember it, or you're not gonna remember being hit. It doesn't count for everyone. There's all shades in between, but she's being a little too evasive about it, and it's weird.
I pretty much always knew him to wear rings.
Okay, let's...
Which isn't to say, yes, he was wearing rings, or no, he was not wearing rings, or he was most likely wearing rings. It was, I pretty much always knew him to wear rings. She evades actually giving a direct answer. Even if it's a negating answer, even if she says no, it's easier to circumvent a question than to tell a downright lie. And that's when you also see a lot of double negatives, when people say it's not true, you know, that kind of stuff.
Please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 170A, which is already in evidence, Your Honor. You testified that this is the picture you took after that incident, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, that was one where he grabbed me.
And and hit you in the face so many times that you don't remember. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
She just said that's correct without thinking about it that much. So she is pretty confident that this was an event where she was punched in the face with a closed fist with heavy rings so often that she doesn't remember how much it was. And if you haven't seen these photos, you're in for a ride. Let's crack on.
And there's no injuries to your face in this picture, are there?
I don't see any. And honestly, that bruise, it could have been from domestic violence. It could have been from, well, having a lot of fun in a particular room of the house. Well, it doesn't need to be in that room, but you get it. You get it. I know you get it. So that bruise in itself, if I see that on someone, I'm most likely gonna assume they walked into something. It doesn't even look like you've been punched because this is my mole, by the way. It's not a bruise. I'm okay. But there's this protrusion right here. It's a little lower, like there's this protrusion right here. Actually, it looks like a tiny little octopus. No. So it doesn't really look like you've been punched. But then again, bruises can happen in all kinds of different ways. But to get back to the whole point of making pictures, if you're a victim of violent abuse, I completely understand that you don't want to tell everybody. You don't want to take pictures of everything. You might not be thinking about taking pictures because maybe you're not thinking about suing the guy or ever needing proof. It's completely legit. Absolutely. But if you're punched in the face repeatedly with a closed fist with heavy chunky rings so often that you can't remember, and you take a photo, and then during your own testimony you show that photo, because this is not the first time this picture was put up. This was put up in her own testimony when she told this story. And then she was like, look, I have proof of this incident. And then I remember watching this for the first time in her own direct testimony, and I was like, sorry, what? What? That's your arm. It was a lot. And this bruise, it could be an abused bruise. It could absolutely be from a violent attack. It could be an old bruise, but she said like it was the next day or something. And her face is fine. And yeah, we don't see her entire face, but we see enough to see that there's no swelling. And as far as I know, Johnny Depp is right-handed. And if you punch someone repeatedly, then you're probably punching them on the same side, which would be on the dominant side, so it would be on her left side. I reckon it could also be on the other side because circumstances can be weird. Could be that she was looking the other way when you threw the first punch and then she turned around, whatever. But I see no swelling. I see no cuts. I see no blood. I see no wounds. I see no scrapes. I see nothing. And this is not the kind of skepticism that I have for all DV victims. This is just the kind of skepticism that I have towards her. Just her. And she is, if she has real injuries, she's in a perfect position to take pictures of that right now. It's not that she didn't think about making pictures, because she's taking one right now. She could have, you know, it's a little odd.
Not that this picture shows.
And there's
Not
no
that
medical
any picture
records
shows.
reflecting that you sought treatment after this alleged incident either.
I did not seek medical treatment at this time.
So there's no medical records reflecting any injuries to your face after he hit you several times.
I did not need to go to the doctor at the time.
So then probably it wasn't that bad. And I'm not saying that the kind of violence that doesn't require you to go to the doctor isn't bad. Any kind of violence is bad in a relationship. You should never punch your partner or kick them or bite them or whatever without their consent. If they give you their consent, you're good. But violence is never the answer to anything. So I'm not saying, well, obviously it wasn't that bad, so what are you whining about? I'm never using the word whine in my normal discourse anyway. I'm saying that she's claiming that it's very bad. She's claiming that she was punched in the face repeatedly. If you get punched in the face by a man with rings on his hand, you're gonna have swelling. You're gonna have a visible mark. It's just, especially the face, it bleeds a lot, it swells a lot. Just look it up on Google. You can see it really easily, and her face looks fine and pretty. I have to admit that she's pretty.
Despite hitting you several times that you lost count with rings on his fingers.
That's correct. I did not seek medical attention.
Other
than my therapist.
It's not really medical.
You testified to another incident in March of 2013 where Mr. Depp hit you while he was wearing a lot of rings. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
And you testified you felt like your lip went through your teeth and it got a little blood on the wall.
I imagine your teeth go through your lip, not the other way around. Yeah, whatever.
Yes, I remember that.
There isn't a picture of you with injuries after that alleged incident, is there?
I don't know if I've seen one. I can't recall. There are a lot of pictures.
Evasive. I don't know if I've seen one, which arguably could make sense, because if there are a lot of pictures, then you're not entirely sure if that's included in it. Now, I'm going to assume that she handed over all the pictures that she had. So I'm going to assume that if she has any pictures of that event, that she gave them to her lawyers and that they put them into evidence. And all those photos should be in evidence. Well, not in evidence right now, but they should be on the evidence list, you know? So either you say, I don't know if there is a picture of like that, if you truly can't remember if you took a picture of that incident or not. I would think you would kind of remember, not because you would remember everything from that moment, but because you would have seen that photo come up a couple of times in different trials right now. I imagine that you will remember if there were any photos of that incident. Then she says, I can't recall, and then it kind of strangely dismissive, there are a lot of pictures, which to me comes across like she's trying to emphasize like there were so many incidents and there was so much abuse, like there's so many photos of all the abuse, I just can't keep track, you know? It's not like she's actually feeling overwhelmed by the amount of the photos and in terms of not being able to keep track of, just because there are many, not because there was so much abuse. Like there are a lot of pictures it's really hard to keep track of, instead of there are a lot of pictures because of all this abuse that's happening. My brain is really stopping to brain right now.
You didn't produce any photographs after that alleged incident, did you, Ms.
I don't know if I took one or if it's included. I'm not quite sure which ones.
You didn't show any pictures.
She is under so much stress during this. It really feels like she's just walking around a minefield at this point. Her facial expressions don't really match up with what I'm hearing. If she's just like, yeah, I'm not quite sure which ones. You didn't show any pictures. That could be understood, but she's like all over the place. Her facial expressions shift all the time, and then there's anger, and there's fear, and there's panic, and there's confusion, and there's so much going on there that doesn't really mesh, if you ask me at least.
I recall there are a lot of pictures.
You didn't produce any photographs after that alleged incident, did you, Ms.
I don't know if I took one or if it's included. I'm not quite sure which ones.
You didn't show any pictures to this jury after describing that alleged incident, that your lip went into your teeth. You don't remember that, right? You didn't show any pictures to this jury after describing that incident, right?
I don't believe I've seen that picture admitted.
Again, this is really evasive to me because the way she phrases it comes across like she is a spectator to this trial, but she's a party to this trial. So if she says, like, I don't know if I've seen one, I don't know if I've seen that picture admitted, I'm like, they're your pictures of your face, right? Wouldn't it be more logical to say, like, I don't believe I've taken a picture of that, instead of I don't believe I've seen that picture admitted? Which also calls into question, are there pictures, but are they just not admitted? In which case it would be her lawyer's fault, and which would mean that she throws them under the bus, which she does a lot. There's a lot of places in this entire cross-examination where every time something gets a little hairy, she just throws someone under the bus. We made a list. It was long.
That picture doesn't exist.
I don't know which one you're talking about. We have pictures from March 2013, yes.
Again, I keep stopping it after a few seconds. Because first she says, I don't know which one you're talking about. If she asks you, it doesn't exist. And then she says, I don't know which one you're talking about. Like, how can you debate the existence of one single picture if that picture does not exist? Because then there is no one. Then that's not a really logical way to be talking about it. So if she was confused about the incident and she said, I don't know which incident you're referring to, that will be more logical. But I don't know if the photo exists. I don't know which one you're referring to. That's kind of odd. And then she gets evasive again, like, yeah, there were pictures from March 2013, yes. But that wasn't the question. The question was, does that specific photo exist? And it's kind of like when someone asks you, like, did you take the trash out? And then you said, yeah. And then you say, yeah, I vacuumed the house. That's right. No. Did you take the trash out? Yeah, I vacuumed the house. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't believe I've actually said that word here. Yeah, no, maybe once, but it's gaslighting. It's a small form of gaslighting, but it's gaslighting.
The only picture that you've produced and shown to this jury is the one that was just put up on the screen, where you said he hit you multiple times in the face, and you appear to have what is a bruise on your arm, correct?
I believe this is the only picture that's in evidence right now.
Or the only picture that exists.
That's the only picture you've shown to this jury from March 2013, correct?
I believe so.
You testified about an incident in Russia on or about June 26, 2013. Do you remember that?
Yes, that's correct.
You testified that Mr. Depp, quote, whacked you in the face.
That's correct.
I needed some tea. Something else that I've been thinking about is how often she uses words for hitting, punching, that kind of stuff, that are very kinetic in an onomatopoeic sense, that are very descriptive from the point of view from the one doing it. Because if you're the one who's getting punched, then the majority of your experience of it would be around the area that's getting hit. And you could still call it being punched in the face, of course, but she often says clock and whack, and those are sounds that really pair up well with the motion of whack, you know, like in one of those old comic books, and like you clocked me in something. On their own, it's not really all too suspicious, but she does it a lot, and it could be completely meaningless. It could describe her actions in this case instead of his.
And you went to the bathroom after that, right?
I did.
And then, according to your testimony, when you came out of the bathroom, Jerry Judge, Mr. Depp's security guard, who's passed away, pointed out that your nose was bleeding, right?
He did that in the hallway.
First of all, that's very convenient because Jerry Judge has passed away, so he can't testify. Second of all, who cares at this point that it was in the hallway? Just when you got out of the bathroom, he pointed it out. Yes, he did. Because the most pertinent information in that experience, in that memory, would be that he pointed that out, not the location of where it happened. I imagine that of most of your most important memories, the thing that was said or the thing that happened is often more memorable, more important than where it happened, what someone was wearing, where you were standing, what you were holding, and all that kind of stuff. So that you remember where it happened, totally fine, totally legit, no problems with that. But that she adds that here for no discernible reason yet, kind of sus.
You said you hadn't known that your nose was bleeding until jury judge pointed it out to you?
Yes, that's correct. I was unaware until he brought it up to me. I didn't see it when I was in the bathroom, but I wasn't looking.
So it's your testimony that you went into the bathroom and didn't look in the mirror, which I assume was in the bathroom, to notice that your nose was bleeding?
That's not why I went into the bathroom. I went into the bathroom crying. I don't even know if I paid attention to the mirror. I certainly didn't enough to notice any blood.
And you didn't take any pictures of your bloody nose either, did you?
Weird.
I did not.
But pictures were taken of you in Russia, though. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We had a press or a dinner.
Let's please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1248. Ms. Heard, this is a picture of you and Mr. Depp in Russia, correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to move to admit.
All right, no objection. 1248 in evidence. You can publish.
Oh, right. This is an entire barrage.
And this is you and Mr. Depp in Russia for the Lone Ranger premiere, correct?
It was a dinner function, I believe, in promotion of the movie. It wasn't the premiere, if I recall.
You don't have any visible injuries to your face, do you?
Doesn't matter if it was the
None that
premiere
you can
or not.
see.
Let's look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 1249. This is a picture of you, isn't it right?
That's correct.
I'm going to move to admit Exhibit 1249.
All right, 1249 in evidence.
This is also a picture from when you were in Russia for the Lone Ranger premiere, right?
That is correct.
And you have no visible injuries to your face, do you?
None that you can see.
Even though Mr. Depp whacked you in the face so hard that your nose...
Did she just emphasize none that you can see? Let's do that again.
That is correct.
And you have no visible injuries to your face, do you?
None that you can see.
She kind of did.
Even though Mr. Depp whacked you in the face so hard that your nose bled?
He did.
While wearing chunky big rings, right?
That's correct.
What's with the lip compressions? I'm not trying to mock her. I want to make clear, when I'm doing these facial expressions, often what I'm doing is not mocking her. I'm trying to bring that facial expression to my face and see what it does to me emotionally. Because fake it till you make it does actually have a ring of truth to it. You can try this right now. This is my free advice for the day. Just no matter your mood, smile. Just smile. Just even if you hate it. Even if you're in a bad mood, even if you think, what the hell is this gonna do? Just smile. Just for no reason, and you'll find that you'll feel more at ease. And it's gonna be a little bit temporary, of course, but it does have an effect. So instead of the cause creating the symptom also creates the cause in a certain sense. So just try it out. And keep doing it throughout the day. It'll really help. I know from experience, and many other people experience this as well. But that's what I'm doing when I'm doing these facial expressions. I'm like, what is she doing? What muscles are engaged? And what could it potentially mean? Her face different from my face. Her life's been different from my face. Did I say her life has been different from my face, or her face has been different from my life? I must be getting tired. Anyway, I'm just trying to see what kind of pathways that engages in my brain. So, just so you know.
You also testify that Mr. Depp again, whacked you in the face after the Met Gala in May of 2014, right?
That is correct.
You testified that you
she
thought
says
he hit you
whacked
so
a
hard
lot.
he broke your nose.
That's correct.
You said your nose was, quote, swollen, discolored, red.
That is correct.
What was she doing with her mouth there? There was a kind of a... It was strange. Let's look at that again.
That's correct.
You said your nose was, quote, swollen, discolored, red.
See that?
That is correct. I took a picture of that.
You testified you took a picture of your face after this.
I did.
And then her bottom lip.
But you didn't show that picture to the jury, did you?
I would like to.
But you didn't show it, did you?
If you would like to, you talk to your counsel and you make sure that they show it to you during your direct. Not that hard.
That's not up to me.
You're the client. It is up to you. This is,
I understand you were under an obligation to produce all photographs after any alleged incidents.
If the photo is admissible as evidence, then it is. Let's be clear.
The violence, right, Ms. Heard?
I produced everything.
You didn't produce any photographs after the Met Gala.
I produced everything.
Not a response.
You also understand that you're under an obligation to produce all medical records reflecting any injuries you allegedly sustained from Mr. Depp, correct?
That's correct.
And you haven't produced any pictures or any medical records reflecting a broken nose after the Met Gala in May of 2014, have you?
I have given everything to my lawyers. Everything. I've turned over literally everything that I have.
So it's your lawyer's fault? They're right there in the room with you. I'm not sure if this is a good time to throw them under the bus. Those poor lawyers. I mean, I don't particularly like Elaine Bredehoff's style. I don't particularly like Benjamin Rottenborg's condescension from time to time. I don't really like their styles, but I do feel for them because they have a shitty client to work with who's gone kind of rogue, who doesn't appear to be cooperating very well, and who basically just has a nothing burger of a case. So I feel for them because they're having a really tough time trying to make something out of nothing. So here she's just like, yeah, I've turned over everything. So if you don't have it, it's not my fault. If she's turned over everything that is admissible as evidence will be known to Depp's team. That's how this works. That there's no surprise haha moments in the last day of court. That doesn't happen. This isn't Hollywood. Well, I don't know if she knows, but this isn't Hollywood, right? So there's going to be no surprises about what evidence is in there. They've both seen each other's evidence. If she says, I've given everything and it wasn't up to me to show it, that's one massive finger point saying they did it. It's their fault. So in this cross-examination, she has thrown under the bus lawyers, her own current lawyers even.
Is it your testimony, Ms. Heard, that you sought medical treatment after Mr. Depp allegedly broke your nose after the Met Gala?
Not after the Met Gala. I did not seek medical attention, no.
You also attended an event after...
For a broken nose? She's an actress, and she is a female actress. And I don't like that Hollywood is cisgendered, but right now the fact is that the way you look is very important if you're a woman in Hollywood. More so than in the case of men, because, well, that's a whole separate video on itself. So if she had broken her nose, why would you not seek out medical treatment? I can somehow, I don't know how, but I can believe that she doesn't need medical treatment, which is weird, but maybe it's possible. But you would at least go for a checkup, right? You want to know you don't get infections. You want to know you don't get like nasty. You don't want to get a nasty crooked nose that heals in all the wrong ways. And if there's swelling, I would definitely go and seek medical attention. So this is allegedly a person who can break her nose and get away with no medical treatment whatsoever. There's too much to be skeptical of here.
After the Met Gala in May of 2014, didn't you?
That is correct.
And you went to the all-star comedy tribute to Don Rickles.
That is correct.
That was the next night after the Met Gala.
That is correct.
And there were pictures of you taken at this event.
Yes.
Let's please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1252. This is a picture of you, Miss Heard.
A slight little smile.
Yes, it
Maybe
is.
she
At
has
that
a
event.
fond memory
Yes,
of the
it is.
The
moment.
night after the Met Gala.
Yes, it is.
The night after Mr. Depp allegedly broke your nose.
I'm not sure if it was broken, for the record, but yeah, you should see what it looked like underneath the makeup.
He whacked
She
you so hard
said
in the
it was
face you
swollen.
thought you had broken your nose.
Exactly.
Right. Permission to admit this photograph.
All right, 1252 in evidence.
This
Doesn't
is a
look
picture
like a
of
broken
you,
nose to
Mr.
me.
Depp, and Don Rickles, right?
That is correct.
He looks like a very
Let's please
joyful
pull
man.
up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1253.
I know nothing about him. Sorry.
This is another picture from that evening, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, it is.
Permission to admit Exhibit 1253 and publish it.
All right, so moved. 1253 in evidence.
This is a picture of you and Mr. Depp
Zoom.
at the event the night after Mr. Depp allegedly whacked you in the face so hard you thought he had broken your nose.
He did whack me in the face, and I did think it broke my nose.
And this is you the night
She
after.
said there was swelling.
Yes, it is.
Even ice can't fix that.
Let's please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1254.
Now, this was just a massacre because she
This
kept
is also a picture
throwing
of you at the same event, correct, Ms. Heard?
all of these photos at her.
Move to admit Plaintiff's Exhibit 1254.
I had
Alright,
way
1254
too little
in
popcorn for this.
Thank you.
When I
Just to
first
confirm
watched
now that
it.
the jury can see it, this is a picture of you at the same event, the night after Mr. Depp allegedly whacked you in the face so hard you thought he broke your nose.
This is a picture of me after he did whack me in the face.
The night after, right?
Yes, it is. I believe it was the night after, yes.
She keeps backpedaling so much, so much. And Camille makes that very, very strong point of saying not only this is a photo of you the night after, yes, but really going there and saying this is a photo of you the night after you were allegedly repeatedly whacked in the face so much that it broke your nose. That entire sentence and just throwing it out there. And then she's like, yeah, that's a photo of me. I thought it was, I'm not sure if it was broken. I thought it was broken. And it was the next night. Well, maybe it was the next night. I'm not entirely sure. Camille's really, really getting under her skin. An absolute masterclass. Absolutely.
Your nose doesn't appear to be injured in any of these pictures, does it, Ms. Heard?
I'm wearing makeup.
Your nose doesn't appear to be injured in any of these pictures, does it, Ms. Heard?
That's why I'm wearing makeup.
I'm not sure if makeup has magical properties that make you suddenly subtract something from something. I mean, yeah, Ralph Fiennes was also wearing makeup in Harry Potter, but they still had to digitally remove his nose because makeup can't do that. And yeah, contouring is a thing, and foundation and concealer, they are a thing. And there's a lot of stuff that can do a whole lot. I've watched a lot of Drag Race. There's a lot of makeup that can do a lot of stuff, but it's still just a layer, you know? If you want to get that actually smooth like it is here, it's gonna get wider than it is because you're filling the negative space. You can't take away anything, so no.
Right. And makeup covers up swelling, right?
Makeup will not cover up swelling. Ice will, though.
Ice will cover up swelling?
Ice reduces swelling. Normally, the swelling after that kind of injury is not as bad as you might.
I'm so sorry, but Camille Vasquez's intonation when she asked that question, ice can cover up swelling? That's just...
Right. And makeup covers up swelling, right?
Makeup will not cover up swelling. Ice will, though.
Ice will cover up swelling?
Ice reduces swelling. Normally, the swelling after that kind of injury is not as bad as you might imagine. And for me,
it is as bad as you might imagine.
I have a picture of it underneath the makeup. That's how I know how to.
You have a picture of that underneath the makeup? Then where is it? Because if everything is in evidence, then why haven't we seen it yet? Because that would be far more compelling evidence than this. And at the same time, ice can reduce swelling, but it can't make it entirely disappear. And it's a face. It doesn't just swell every bit as much as you might imagine. It swells a whole lot. You can look it up. It's not pretty.
Reference it.
A picture you haven't produced or shown to
did.
this jury, right, Ms. Heard?
I produced everything.
But you haven't shown it to this jury.
I would very much like to. It's not my job.
Throwing the lawyers under the bus again. She must be a terrible client to work with, because even on redirect, that photo doesn't appear. And that would be a far more compelling photo to see than the bruise on the arm. So I don't believe that her lawyers are that incompetent not to show that picture if it does exist. And again, she didn't say, yes, I produced it. She said, yes, I produced everything. She was again evasive, because it's kind of an answer and not an answer, because it doesn't really attest to whether that photo is among everything or not. So it's a way of saying something that is true without actually saying the thing. This is just so much fun to watch, really. To finally see someone who's trying to manipulate and gaslight people put in their place. It was really nice to see. And this is also where I'm going to be leaving it for today, because I don't know if you've noticed, but my eyes have grown really small, and I've been filming for way longer than I actually wanted to, and I'm tired. I'm exhausted, but this was just so enjoyable. So I'm so happy that you're still here and still watching and still sharing this with me. And I actually feel kind of flattered and kind of honored that you're still here, because this has been a long watch so far. So thank you once again. Anyway, I hope to be continuing with this series soon, because I'm really enjoying myself. I hope you were too. Please feel free to leave it down in the comments if you want to join the conversation, which I highly encourage. I do actually, and I'm gonna say this, a lot of times I really do thrive better in conversation than in one-sided videos. So I would really appreciate it if you leave a comment, and maybe we can talk about some stuff. And if I ever start live streaming, I do hope to see you there as well, and I do hope that we can actually have a good talk. So for now, I'm gonna go to bed, and I will, see you next time. Thank you.